Ensozi kanyingi mu muhanda n'ensalo kanyingi tsimbire yamba tabura tahaba taliwerekera onjune moyo ruhango tandeka moyo wa mukama onyame tabura tahaba taliwerekera onjune Mukama nyongera amani n'ekisa kyawe mu muhanda obuserezi n'ebindaka bingi Yesu onjune ebizibu ebikusanga kabingi amaziga gankyuzire kamengi omwoyo wawampumuze wesengerize Mukama moyo wa ruhango mumezi moyo wa Mukama kwata omukono kikoza Omukono gwange onyongera amani gawe Yesu onyongera ekisa kyawe
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Samuel Senyonjo. I am a lawyer by calling. It is a pleasure to have you here on this platform. I know many courses have been catered for. There are many things uploaded on YouTube and all social media, but the noble course hasn't been cared for. So we decided that we'll be taking you through the law course for lawyers in making and any concerned citizen, for lovers of wisdom and knowledge. This is going to be so good. We shall be sharing the law according to the syllabus as approved by the Law Council, Uganda Law Council. It is my pleasure to have you here. So kind of inform a friend. If you know of anyone who wants to offer law, they are in their work, they want to offer law, inform them about this program. We are in partnership with an NGO called Justice for All. And we shall be having other lawyers. We have lawyer friends, we have senior counsel, they shall be sharing the law. We shall be sharing about a variety of things, about land, about family, about We have what we call jurisprudence. We have many: health law, sports law, insurance law, contract, law of sale of goods. You need to know what must entail in a will. Many persons have wills, but actually they are not wills, and they cannot stand in courts of law in case they are challenged. So you are going to be learning the law. Get your books, get your pen ready, inform about a friend, tell them about this program. It is going to be so wonderful. Last time I discussed about many things, about what is the law, about different schools of thoughts about the law. I told you about the natural law theories, the positivist. I told you about the sociological, historical, and many others. It was so wonderful. I've gotten some calls, people appreciating about this program. People are excited about it. Some are lawyers, some are not lawyers, but they are excited about it. Some want to offer law, so they are appreciating. It is very wonderful. We don't want to be selfish, so we shall be sharing. This morning, I'm going to look at the importances of the law. What do you need the law? Some people may say, I don't need that. I don't need lawyers. What do I need them? This morning I'm going to take you through the importances of law. I'm going to be taking you through the two major legal systems. Because basically, we have two major legal systems. From there, I'm going to be taking you through the classification of laws. We have law classifications, and probably, if time allows, I'm going to be taking you through sources of law. If time allows, I'm going to be taking you through sources of law, the court system in Uganda. But if time doesn't allow, we shall pick up from there. From introduction to law, we shall be looking at law of contract. The law of contract, you're buying, selling of things, contract, worker is a contract, contractors, all that. We shall be going through the law of contract. We shall hear about the offer. But today, I want to give you the introduction. It's still in introduction to law. You know what is the law? What is the constitution? All those things. You go to know about the cases. Why do we have cases? Why do we call them cases? You know about the common law. We have common law. You've heard about common law. What do we call it so? But today I'm going to be taking you through the importances of law. Yeah, I get the definition of law, and actually it works in a certain geographical area, as we said, that the law we are using today works in a certain geographical area. The law that applies in Uganda, save for international law, doesn't apply in any other country. Yeah, the law that applies in Iraq doesn't apply in Uganda. So law applies to a certain geographical area. And today we are discussing the importances of law. And to begin with, man is not like animals. One of the many things that differentiates man from animals is the fact that man has social rules. Like in the jungle, there are no rules. That is why the king of the jungle may take away the life of another without being imprisoned or taken to courts. But man has social rules. We have rules that govern us. We have rights that to govern us. If animals had rules that govern them, we wouldn't have some animals killing other animals. But because they are animals, they do not reason. They don't have that judgment of good and bad. So they cannot come up with rules. And another thing, man, where people do live, if we gather, just to know that social disorders have to come up. Just get to know that you're going to have wrangles. Just get to know that disputes are going to come up. So, how are you going to handle those disputes? We need to come up with something to guide us, to coerce us. That is what we call law. They're the rules that govern the society. They're the rules that govern us. So man is not an animal. That is why you come up with law. So the importances of the law are hereafter. Law is a tool of social control. Just imagine if we never had the penal code. Yeah, we shall be going through criminal law, and we shall explain all those acts. Actually, I think before the end of this session or the coming session, we shall be talking about sources of law, among which we shall have what we call acts of parliament. The members of parliament you send in the parliament, they come up with acts. We call them acts of parliament. So that is where you have the penal code. And those who are going to be students, if you do not have the penal code, buy yourself one. Buy even the Constitution. Constitution is very, very essential. So just imagine we never had the penal code. What will happen? We shall have a lot of social disorder. We shall have a lot of social disorder. That is point number one, that it guarantees social control. Another thing, law fosters cooperation between persons. We have many rules, we have many of them, the rules, regulations and laws that promote social cooperation. Like we have circles, we have rules and laws that govern circles. I'm just imagining a situation where people have gathered, they have collected their money, and someone runs away with that money when they don't have the rules to govern their corporation or their circle. So here it comes with a law that govern our circle, so that to promote that cooperation, not only in circle, but there are many other things where law is needed to combine us together, to govern us, to direct us in our cooperation with one another. Even the law of contract, it promotes cooperation. The law of contract, it does promote the same. Another point, the law guarantees our rights. As we said in the first episode, that human rights are not granted by government. They are human rights. They are given to us by God, like the right to life. It is not the government that grants the same, but it guarantees it. Let me give you some examples of human rights we have. We have the right to privacy. Just imagine if anyone could come in your room without your consent, they find you when you are naked. So the law guarantees the right to privacy. You have your privacy. They cannot just come in They cannot just take away your photos and just begin spreading them over the social media. No, they are not supposed to do that. You have the right to privacy. Another thing, you have the right to education. I'm imagining ATS, African Traditional Society, where gentlemen had to go with their fathers to hunt, and girls had to stay home to do the chores. But today we have the right to education. You cannot produce the children and leave them home. No. It is mandatory that they have to go to school. They have the right to education. You cannot refrain them to going to school. If I may talk of another right, the right to life. They cannot take away your life save when you've been judged by the partial judicial officers, and then you have to be imprisoned. Maybe you've been sentenced to death. That is when your life may be taken away, when you've been sentenced to death. And even then, you have the right to appeal. Not until you've been proven guilty or you've pleaded guilty and then you're sentenced to death. Not until then your life cannot be taken away from you. But if that right is not guaranteed, your life could be taken away the way they wish. But now we have the right to life. It is guaranteed under the Constitution, and it has to be protected. So the law guarantees that. They cannot just grab you and kill you. No. That right is guaranteed. Another thing, the law ensures public safety. Public safety. Like we have the traffic regulations. We have acts pertaining that. They are called Roads Traffic and Roads Safety Act. That act is there to guarantee our safety. Like in there, you can't drive unless you have a permit. And many other things. On the road, you can't drive when you're drunkard. You can't drive when you are talking on phone. The same is guaranteeing public safety of other persons using the road. So if we do not have that, and people are driving while drinking, when they are not sober, they are driving when they don't have the permit, the driving permit, and probably they are not sure, they don't know how to drive, we shall have chaos. We have those traffic lights thereon. If you do not abide with them, then they are going to get you and penalize you. So those laws are there to help us. Another thing, the law is there to guarantee your property, safety of your property. You know we have the right to property, to own a property. So if that right is not guaranteed by the law, that means your property can be taken away the way they wish. But in our Constitution, Article 26, if they are to take your property, they have to compensate you. There is what we call compulsory acquisition of property, where the government may take your property. Maybe they want to construct a road therein. Maybe they want to pass the line of electricity. Maybe they want to do anything, mining. They have found out that there is gold down there. They have to mine it. The government has to pay you promptly. Those who have the Constitution, you're going to look at Article 26 of the Constitution. So if if your property is not protected, then it can be taken away. You remember the regime of Idi Amin Dada. They could take your property. I think he never used to pay those soldiers. and they could grab people's property. So if you do not have the law, your property will be taken away. I'm a Muganda, but Kabaka could take anything. If it appeased him, could just take. But now, it is no longer the case. Why? Because the law guarantees, it protects your property. Another thing, the law regulates the economy. It regulates the same. In the past, many years ago, like 1,000 years ago, we never used to pay tax here in Uganda. Not even 1,000 years ago. Like 500 years ago, we never used to pay tax. But the law comes in to regulate the economy in that way. Regulating, they regulate the money. You cannot just print out money. No. They regulate the economy. They regulate the inflation. We have those laws to regulate the economy. So that is the law that does that. So imagine that we do not have the laws in place. The economy would run vile. So we have the law here to regulate our economy in many aspects. They regulate the imports, they regulate the exports. So if they are not regulated and people are doing the way they wish, like I can refer to the regime of Idi Amin Dada. The economy was very, very bad. It was not regulated. Why? Because there were no laws. Okay, they were there, but I don't know Idi Amin Dada. He never followed the law. I think he was above the law. And he could do anything he wanted. So the law is there to regulate the economy. And the law is there to ensure public health. This is a wonderful one. Like, we are in COVID. The whole world is in COVID. So the government had to come up through the Public Health Act. We have what we call the Public Health Act. Through the Public Health Act, they had to come up that, you know what Ugandan is? We have to go this way. We have to go lockdown. They came up with the lockdown. The schools were shut. 15 million students were sent back home. If they had not done that, probably coronavirus would have killed many persons, would have claimed lives of many persons in Uganda. But since we have the Public Health Act, they were able to lock down the country. They were able to put up the curfew. They were able to tell you they were not supposed to move at this time. You are not supposed to go to church. The churches, the mosques, and many other public places. We are not supposed to walk, to operate. Why? Because of the law, they wanted to regulate our health. You remember the pandemic of AIDS that was here in Uganda? What happened? They had to come up with the AIDS Act. We have one. You know, Uganda in the whole world has one of the best laws, though they do not work, they do not operate. But you have from A to Z. You have from A to Z. You have many, many, many acts of parliament. They are very nice, they are very good, though they do not work. Now, public health is being regulated by the law. It is because of lockdown that we are not going to church. That was through public health. You are supposed to do this. Pandemic, AIDS, now you are before you go into marriage, they are supposed to test you. If one is negative and the other is positive. So now, if you do not have that, then chaos would be in the country. I think 50% of the country would be positive. And the law is used to promote the common good. We have some things, not that the law is there for criminals, because I've heard some people say, yeah, we have you, our lawyer, you're going to help us. We can do this and that, you're going to help us. You're going to bail us out. No. The law is not only there for criminals, though that is what the Bible says. In 1 Timothy, I think, chapter 1, verses 9. Yes, it is there for criminals, because it helps us from those criminals. But again, that is not the only thing. We have social things in common. So that common good, you have things, the common good, things that benefit the public. We can achieve the same through the law. We can put up policies and mechanisms through the law. The parliament may come up with the law, and the government, the executive may come up with the policies for common good. Like this voting, this common good. Which other things? The corporations, common good. Yes. The hospitals, common good. So we have the law to guarantee that, to guide us how we're supposed to do. That is common good. The law promotes and guarantees international relations. In the past, every country was on its own. Not until the 20th century, when they came up with what we call the League of Nations, and from the League of Nations we now have the UN. It was after the Second World War. That is when we came up with the UN. And every country is guaranteed therein, save a few that are not signatories to the Charter. So international relations, every country has its sovereignty. No one country can come here and fight Uganda. No one. Not a single country, not a single state, because every state is a sovereign. We have our sovereignty. It is guaranteed under international law. You can't land here, like, you can't just land here without the consent of the government. If our diplomatic relationship with another country are not okay, they may not allow us to go therein. They have sovereignty. So Uganda is a nation with a single vote. Even if America and all those states under First World, they are big, they have money, but in the UN we have a single vote. Why? International relations are guaranteed. They are guaranteed by international law. Each and every country can stand for its own. So, the law guarantees that. We have international law, and we shall be studying international law in depth. You've heard of the ICJ, International Court of Justice, where we can take persons, even the president, the incumbent, we can take them. Like in our constitution, we cannot take incumbent president. No, we cannot. So the law guarantees that. The law helps us in protecting the environment. We have NEMA Act, National Environmental Management Act. It is there to regulate the environment. You cannot just construct where you wish. And that is when you have the reserves. We have forests, we have swamps, and other places reserved, so that the ecosystem is reserved. We have the zoo to that effect. The wild animals are reserved therein, so that we may have the species maintained. If we never had laws to that effect, the charcoal burners would have destroyed everything around. People would have constructed wherever they wish. But since we have the NEMA Act, you cannot just put the company where you wish. We have some places reserved, the residential places reserved. We have some industrial areas, like in Uganda. Namamve, we have it reserved for industries. And if an industry is constructed somewhere or is set up somewhere, it has to be regulated. It has to consider the people around, the public. And we can take them to courts of law for nuisance. And we tell these courts of law, we cannot sleep. This is a residential area. Kick them out. Our right to clean environment is being disorganized. So if we never had laws, people would be vile, would do what they wish. Another thing, the law helps us in dispute resolution. As I've commented earlier on, that if we come together as a community, just to know that disputes are going to arise. They have to. It is a must. We cannot avoid disputes because we are human beings. We have conscience. We have the soul, the spirit, and the body. Many people are brought up differently. We grow up from different environments. What I call rudeness, another person may call it politeness. That is the way they are brought up. What I call respect, another person views it in a different way. Some people are hostile. For them, they think they are not hostile. That is the way they do their things. So disputes have to come up because we are not animals. But even animals do fight. Maybe we are not plants. So disputes have to come up. Now, when the disputes do come up, what should we do? So that's when we have to come up with the laws to govern that one. The disputes. That when disputes do come up, what do we do? Even if you are friends, even if in a family we've grown up together, disputes do come up. What do we do? Should we sit down? No. We are not going to sit down. So, that is the law. That is the importance of the law. It does that a lot. Dispute resolution, we have many mechanisms for dispute resolution. Even if you come up with an agreement, we shall have disputes in a company. So how are they going to be solved? That is the law. It does that. Even in marriage, you have disputes. That is why you have many divorce cases today. Because of disputes. But there are two persons. Why should they fight? Disputes are there. So the law is here to guide us on that. The law promotes social morals. Yes? As we said in the first episode, that morals are inborn. But again, if they are inborn, they have to be promoted. So if you have some laws pertaining morals, then they are going to be promoted. Like for example, in Uganda, prostitution is bad by the law. It is not good. It is forbidden under the Penal Code Act, Cap 120. So it is going to promote the morals. In the past we had the miniskirt saga. So the law is there to promote the morals of the society. We have our morals in Uganda, and different cultures have their morals. Like homosexuality and lesbianism. In Uganda, it is not acceptable. It is an abomination. So if they come up with such a thing, then you are going to put a law. Anti-homosexual act. We are going to come up with a law to guarantee that morals are protected down the edges. We shall look at what we call cases. Let me call it a scenario, hypothetically, maybe. You had a person called Selunkuma. They fall in love with Namazi. They were all of Ndiga clan. Chihuwa. Bruna Chihuwa, sorry, it was called Chihuwa. And the fine for Namazi, they were all belonging to Ndiga clan. So the father to the girl, Selunkuma, had to go to the High Court for an injunction. Injunction is like to stop these persons, to stop them from marrying, because in Chiganda culture, you can't marry like Ndiga clan. You can't marry a person of your clan. So he had to go to High Court. And another thing, they had never done the introduction. So the court decided in favor of the father. The court ruled that, look here, you have the same clan. It is known and acceptable. It is a known and acceptable custom of the Chiganda culture that people of the same clan cannot marry. So he granted an injunction. He granted an injunction. And the same had to pay costs. Why? He was preserving the morals of the society. So that is what the law does. The law brings what we call social change. Show me the laws of the country, I'll tell you what they are. Show me the constitution of the country, I'll tell you what they are. So the laws are there to guarantee social change. Okay, we have many things that we had here in the past. Like the female genital mutilation. That was kind of inhuman. The law had to force them to change. As I've said earlier on, here in Uganda, we never used to have this formal education. But because of the laws that we have in place, that all children have to go to school. Now the society has changed. People have changed the way they put up. People have changed the way they speak. People have changed the way they view things. Why? Because there was a law that was enacted to provide for compulsory education. We have many and many and many and many. They can go on and on and on. Like that one of privacy. I told you, if someone uses my photo anywhere, maybe for economic gain or anything else, I can take them to courts of law. And I get quite good money for using my picture. It is not allowed. My picture is my property. So you cannot just use it the way you wish. The law guarantees that. I think on the importances of law, I should stop here so that we may continue. Law has some critiques. I wish to give some 3, 4, 5 critiques of the law. The law promotes inequality. We are having the haves and the have-nots. Why? Because of the law. As I told you in the theory of Marx, he said the law is there to protect the interests of the bourgeoisie or the capitalists. And I believe, I do concur with him, that the law is there to protect certain persons. And that is why, even in COVID, some things were operating. Construction was going on. And you wonder why construction? Because some people have their money, they don't need to stop. They have their money, so they have to keep on constructing. They have to keep on going. Now that is the law. Some of the critiques of the law, that it promotes inequality. Another one, oppression. It promotes oppression. Those in government oppressing some persons. Another thing, law in the hands of bad persons. I gave the example of Hitler. Everything Hitler did was in the law. It was allowed by the law. So if law is in hands of bad persons, it is going to be chaos. Idi Amin Dada, he ruled with directions. Just comes up one day that this is what I've said. And it is a law, because even the presidents do make laws. Like you saw President Museveni in COVID-19. Yes, he had to come up with something for the pandemic that had broke up. So Idi Amin Dada used the law to oppress the people. Hitler used the law to kill the Jews. So he had the mandate, and then he could make laws. Another thing, the majority. You know, law has that thing of the majority. But again, sometimes we have majority fools. So the majority fools are going to decide for the minority wise persons. Not that the majority are always the right persons. Or I mean, their decision is always right. No. At times the decision is not right. You've seen it around the world. When they come up with something, but it's not good. By the law, is the effect that if you read the Constitution, is the effect that the majority wins. Yes, they guarantee the rights of the minority, but the majority takes it all. Like our parliament. Indeed, if you compare our parliament with that one of Kenya, wow. Our parliament is left with a lot to be desired. It has a lot. Their reasoning, wow. So, but they are the majority. They come up with something, you have to abide, you have to go up with. So the law has that shortcoming. We have the procedures, law procedures. It is also another problem, because in law we have procedures. If your rights have been infringed, you can't just go to court at any time you wish. No. We have time limitations. Like, if you're demanding someone, you can't go in court after 6 years. So after 6 years, forget. So at times, the law procedure is unfair. We have the limitation in which you can bring up a case. If it is a land matter, it was taken, 12 years have gone, we shall start about the land, the bona fide, we shall start about many things. But if it is taken, bona fidely 12 years, if someone settles on your land, 12 years, you've not complained, he doesn't know about the owner, 12 years, they can process and get a certificate of title. So we have those things, some shortcomings, the limitation time. So law has such things. And then law at times makes justice expensive. Not all persons can afford court. Some people even fear to go in courts of law. So law at times is expensive. I mean, justice is at times expensive. It is the law that makes it that way. That you have to go here and here and here and here. You have to have this and this and this. You have to have evidence on this, on this, and this. At times you may not have that evidence. There are many critics. But since the importances outweighs the critiques, I would wish to stop there. I want to move on to the two major legal systems. Hope we are together. The importances, the critiques, you may call them the disadvantages, but we call them the critiques. So we have basically two major legal systems that I have to comment on as I'm doing the foundation for the future discussion. In the whole world, we have basically common law system, and two, we have civil law system. All countries in the world either use common law system or civil law system. What is the difference, you may ask? The difference I'm bringing. Common law is basically used by those that were once colonized by the British. It is from the UK. And let me give the simple background. Since Uganda is under common law, and you are going to be studying common law, because you do not use the civil law system that I'll explain hereafter. We use the common law system. I've said there are basically two. There are basically two: common law and civil law systems. You find that some countries use a mixture of both, but those are exceptional circumstances. It is either common law or, but what is the background of common law? In around 1000, United Kingdom never had a law in common. So each geographical area of the kingdom or community had their morals, had their customs, and had their way of doing things. But when King William took over in around 1066, he wanted to come up with a system that combined all the customs. So they began gathering all those customs. They wanted them to be uniform. They wanted them to put them together. Like here in Uganda, take an example that Uganda is UK. The Baganda have their way of doing things, the morals, the introductions, how they do their introductions and what must be entailed therein. The Banyankole have their Okwinjira. The Banyarwanda have their Okwarana. I think it's called Okwarana. I don't know. They test so that what they have their way of doing things. They have their customs. You don't do this, you do that. Girls do this, girls do that. Boys do this, boys do that. Men do this, women do this. This is how it is supposed to do in contract. This is how it's supposed to do in this. So now, William ordered that they gather all the customs so that they may have common, let me use this, so that they may have common customs, so that they may have common laws that govern the whole kingdom. And that is when they come up with what we call common law. After combining, after gathering, after putting together all the customs of the United Kingdom, so they came up with what we call common law. Now, they came up with the court system. They used those customs, those customs to rule. They came up with judges, court systems. So you would go there if you had any dispute. They go through their customs. Which custom pertain this about land, about maybe about the will, about the heirship, about testamentary. So this is the custom. So they could adjudicate. They could judge them the same. if you brought the matter. And now, after deciding on the same, they put down what they decided. Putting down what they decided. If any person in the future came up with the same facts, say for example it was on testamentary or disposition of someone's property, and the case was decided in the past, so they could refer to the past case that was decided. They could bring it up. These were the facts, and this was the ruling. This was what the judge had to say. So the past case or decision had to guide the judge in this particular decision. And that is when we came up with what we call precedent, or in Latin we call it stare decisis. What is a precedent? Because precedent is for common law. The difference between common law and civil law is that common law uses precedents that is made by the judge. So it is more of the judge. What has the judge said? The parliament, because we never had parliaments by then, the judge, what has the judge said? What had the judge had to say about this? So they bring the facts, the decision, the earlier decision, even if 100 years back, they bring it to the board. They decide the case at hand. That is when we come up with what we call precedent. What is a precedent? A precedent is like an example. If I may say not legally, it is like an example. For example, this family have girls, and the elder girl has studied up to maybe university. He has a degree. After the degree, they do marry a beautiful, they do marry a handsome man, and it is a wedding. So they have set an example for other girls to follow in the family. They have set an example to be followed. That is what we call a precedent. So sorry, excuse me. So their father may tell them that your sister has set an example that you need to follow. So in law, if the earlier judge, more so of a Supreme Court, even if High Court, even if it is being set by the High Court, it has to be followed by the subordinate courts. If it is set by the Supreme Court, it has to be followed by the subordinate courts like the Court of Appeal and the High Court and the Magistrate Courts. So that is what we call precedent. A precedent is an example. I may use that plain English. It is an example that is set by the judge. So other judicial officers follow the same. That is for common law. And in civil law, there are no precedents. They do not follow what the judge said. No, they follow what is in their codes. For them, they have codes. They have their laws codified. Codification. Their laws are codified. They are written down. So they go. What do the codes have to say about this? What do the scholars have to say about this? Scholars write about many things, many subjects. So for them, they do not follow what the judges decided earlier on. No, they follow what the courts have to say about this, what the scholars have to say about this, what the books have to say about this, the textbooks, the authorities we have, what do they have to say about this? So that is the difference between civil law and common law. Common law is judge-made. It is the judge who sets the precedents. Another thing, under common law, a person is presumed innocent not until that person has been proven guilty or pleads guilty. I repeat, under common law, a person is presumed innocent not until proven guilty or pleads guilty. So if you commit a crime You are not guilty. You are a suspect. You are suspected to have committed that crime. Not until the prosecution or that person who is against you has brought up evidence to show that indeed you were guilty. But if they don't bring that, I'm sorry, you are not guilty. So, under civil, what happens? You are guilty, not until it has been proven otherwise. If we grab you, if you find you committing a certain crime, you are not a suspect, you are guilty, you have committed it. So you have to prove that, no, I have not committed it. It has to be proved that you've not committed it. So it is opposite. Our system here is adversarial. Adversarial system, I have a lawyer, you have a lawyer. Let's go. Let the books speak. Let evidence speak. Even this suspect may not speak anything. In civil law, it is not the case. It is not adversarial. They are going to look into the codes. What do they say? What the scholars have to say about this? Then they make a decision. Here, the lawyers have to come up adversarial. From the word like enemy, like I have to fight, you have to fight, you have to bring books, you have to bring evidence. Lawyer. They fight. Counsel, they fight. Not fighting as in fighting, but they have to submit. He's not guilty, he's guilty. He's not guilty, he's guilty. According to this, he's guilty. My client is not guilty of the same. It is the judge to decide on that. He's not guilty. It is the judge. It's not you to. You are not a judge. So that's how it works. And our law is emphatic. Common law is emphatic on procedure. Procedure is very crucial under common law. You have to follow this procedure. You have to follow this and this and this. You have to file this in 13 days. You have to file this in 14 days. You have to bring that case in 6 years. If you don't bring it in 6 years, then leave. So, it is kind of procedures. Another thing, in civil, there is no jury. The jury system is common to common law. It works more in the US. Persons sit on board. They adjudicate on the matter. So those are the two major legal systems we have in the world. You either under common or under. You were either under common law or under civil. I think I shouldn't push it any longer. Thank you for watching. Inform about that law. That person who wants to offer law is a vacist, senior 6. Inform about that person who wants to offer law at Law Development Center. They want to do that diploma in law. Inform them about this program. Don't be selfish. And then, you yourself, you need to know the law. Lawyers call themselves land friends. That other persons are educated, but they are not land. So you need to know about the law. Why are they proud? You need to know about this. So inform a friend. And every day, this morning, from 11 a.m., we shall be streaming live. Thank you for watching. Thank you for commenting. Yeah, people are interested. They want to know more about the law. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for watching. And may the good Lord bless you. Bye-bye.
ebibazo kingi mumuhanda gwange ntindire onyabe emitego ebategereka mingi abanyazigwa bange nabo bengi omwoyo wawasinze wesengerise mukama moyo wa mukama kwata omukono tabula nyingi muhanda nentaroka nyingi tindire yamba tabura tahaba sariwerekera onyune moyo ruhango tandeka moyo wa mukama onyame Mukama nyongera amani nekisa kyawe muhanda obuserezi n'ebindaka bingi Yesu onjune ebizibu ebikusaga kabingi amaziga ganchuzire kamengi omwoyo wawampumuze wesengerize mukama moyo wa mukama kwata omukono kikukoza wala kwata omukono ntabula 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 Yesu ntabula moyo wawe Yesu moyo wawe omukono gwange onyongera amani gawe Yesu nyongera ekisa kyawe
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Samuel Senyonjo. I am a lawyer by calling. It is a pleasure to have you here on this platform. I know many courses